Hi, I'm Renee Berry. I'm a partner development manager with the global startup team at AWS, and I'm here in the studio today with Trunal with Clazar.
Hey Renee, thanks for having me. Super excited for our conversation today.
Likewise. Can you tell me a little bit about Clazar and the founding story and your background?
Sure, yeah. So Clazar is an ISV. We are a SaaS platform. We help companies get listed, transact, and do co-sell with the marketplaces. I was the head of cloud marketplaces engineering, billing, and growth at Confluent before this. Prior to that, I was the head of homes host engineering at Airbnb for about 4.5, 5 years. In terms of the founding story, it's a fun one. Me and my co-founder and CTO, Ayush, we've known each other for about 6 to 8 years. At this point in time, we were in the same team back at Airbnb. I left Airbnb when he was still there. He ended up becoming the head of engineering for experiences product at Airbnb. But throughout the years, we kept touch on and off. We always knew that we wanted to start something together. We were just basically waiting for the right opportunity, right timing, right everything. And all of that culminated into when I started seeing this like tectonic shift that is happening in the SaaS industry of selling via the marketplaces, doing co-sell with the hyperscalers and all of that. So I made a phone call to my friend, and fortunately the timing worked out with him as well. And so here we are.
I love it. Can you talk a little bit about trends that you're seeing in cloud marketplaces in general and AWS Marketplace?
Yeah. Before we talk about the trends, maybe I explain a little bit about what cloud marketplaces are, because they tend to be slightly different than the traditional marketplaces. Yeah. And if you think about the traditional marketplaces, like the Amazon Marketplace, Airbnb is a marketplace, Uber is a marketplace, where there's this two-sided or sometimes three-sided marketplaces where people list their products and then consumers go and buy. While that is still true about the cloud marketplaces, the one key differentiator there is the fact that you get access to committed spend, which is a concept of the customers of AWS committing doing a contract with AWS and committing to spending a certain amount of money over a period of time. When you go to the cloud marketplaces, you as a seller get access to that committed spend. And then I truly believe the future of selling SaaS software, or any software for that matter, is going to be marketplaces are going to be the default way that software sellers are going to be selling. And the numbers are actually now backing that up. So for example, there's about $300 billion worth of committed spend across all of the marketplaces. AWS has more than half of it at about $155 billion. AWS is also already one of the top 10 IT distributors. So with that trend, what we are seeing is more and more companies want to get access to that committed spend and want to be on marketplaces. At the same time, the other side, which is the buyer side, what's happening there is, the millennials have come along, and now these are the same people who would purchase Instagram, TikTok, or whatever. They are now going and purchasing the enterprise software, but they have the same expectation of buying a consumer product on the enterprise side. So they do their own research, they want something trusted, they read reviews, and they want to make sure that it is super seamless. Now, when you think about those criteria and fit in the marketplaces, like the cloud marketplaces are attached with AWS and some of the other hyperscalers, so there's that trust factor. Also, the plumbing that is enabled via API connections and some of the infrastructure work that is done by the hyperscalers is super seamless to procure and then deploy your software. So combination of these two is actually catapulting the entire industry and entire space to a level where there's a lot of interest generating, and we are at the heart of it, as you know. So super excited to be a part of this journey.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for sure, and I think the trust factor that you're talking about is a really big one, right? Because if companies have a relationship with a large hyperscaler, like you're saying, right? Like AWS as one of them, and they have already signed that committed spend, right? Then there's that opportunity for companies to, access their software being paid through that already committed spend if it goes through the marketplace, right? So, huge opportunity, but I think we're still at the early stages of it, like to your point.
For sure.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about Clazars, customers and what success you've seen so far there.
Yeah, Rene, we've been extremely fortunate to be having, more than 100 customers in a very short period of time. And a lot of that success I'll attribute to Clazar and marketplaces, which we'll talk about for sure. But in terms of specifically customer stories, we bucket them into two specific areas. One is someone who's like not been on the marketplaces, they want to unlock that motion and what that does to their business. And the second is they have been on the marketplaces for maybe a year or so. They have started in that motion, see really paid rich dividends, and they want to go to the next level in terms of Clazar. So for the first bucket, like what we typically see is, customers they want to get listed, but the sometimes the engineering lift is a little bit too much for them, and they don't want to invest that time in something that is not core to their like key product. So they come to us, and then with our customer base, what we have seen is their ability to go to market across multiple countries in one shot is catapults their core growth. That's one. Secondly, their deal sizes become typically richer and the deals close faster. Now, there was a report done by AWS and Forrester together where all of these metrics were shown in a methodical fashion. But what we are seeing out there is actually those numbers are actually true when we look at the customer data and we talk to our customers. So that's been a fantastic journey. Now, the second bucket is the co-sell journey. And when I talk about co-sell, it's about the deal registration, which is, the partners or customers of AWS sharing opportunities through the ACE portal to AWS so that there's visibility. So that's the process. We have customers who are doing co-sell, but the challenge or the time that it took them from they're going from their CRM, copying all of the information, and then going to ACE and inputting all of that information there took somewhere around close to 20 minutes for a single opportunity. But what we've been able to do is we implemented automation for them right from their CRM like Salesforce or HubSpot. And now that same time that used to take them 20 minutes has gone down to 20 seconds. Now, I'll let that sit in for a second, because if you think about the amount of time savings that has done has been fantastic, and customers are really happy about it.
It's amazing. I mean, I think it's one of those things. Before, like I had partners that were using Clazar where I was encouraging them to do as much as they could with automation, but the tools just weren't there yet. Right, it's before you were launched and all of that. But I think I have some partners that, when they're early stage are maybe doing 5 opportunities a week that they're adding, right? But that would be like an hour of time, right? Because they're making sure that the data stays up to date. So what you're saying is consistent with what I'm saying with my partners that are customers of yours as well, is the speed at which they are able to lean into co-sell because they have the right tooling in place, and it's seamless because they are using their system with Clazar there to help automate, making sure that their partners are then getting the right information so everybody can collaborate well.
Absolutely.
Awesome. What about one thing that you mentioned is like speed to getting listed? Mm-hmm. I think, I see a lot of potential partners that are interested in working with us, but, there is technical work that has to get done in order to get listed on Marketplace. And sometimes it can be a challenge to get any time from that team.
Yeah.
And so, can you talk a little bit about what does the team need to have technically ready in order to get listed on AWS Marketplace if they're working with your team?
Absolutely. And I'll answer that question in a framework fashion. Sure. Where one of the key philosophies that we have at Clazar is that velocity creates luck. And I am a true firm believer in the fact that the rapid growth that we have seen and we are seeing right now is, majority of the time attributed to that one trait that we have within the company. And it's the same philosophy that we project onto our customers. So we want to make sure that we are the fastest when it comes to helping our customers to getting them live. Many times the customers that come to us, they have a deal waiting in the wings. So they're really frantically trying to figure out, how do I what is this marketplace thing in many cases, or how should I get listed and what is entailed. And we have a fantastic team of customer success and implementation specialists who have done it multiple times before, now more than 100 times before. who are able to really take you from start to finish in the fastest time possible. And what that entails is like we have developed technology so that we don't have to go to your engineering and ask a whole bunch of effort from them. We just need access into your AWS account, and then we will tell you exactly what kind of permissions we need and all the technical jargon. We maybe spend like 1 hour with one of your engineers on a call, and that's it. After that, they are completely not required to be a part of the process, and we take the process from start to finish. As an example, there was one customer, we got them live from them signing our contract to live in 6 business days. So that is the kind of record that we like to set up.
I love it. I mean, that is fast for anyone that's not gone through this before, right? So, sometimes that can be a week or two just figuring out which team member can own that technical work. Then it can be, some time for them to then make sure it's built into their workflow, right, of getting it done. So if instead a partner team can say, hey, we need one person for 1 hour to work with Clazar, and your marketplace listing can be very, within a week of being on track for being live, that's a very great process.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about your co-sell journey, like with Clazar, and any lessons you have on co-sell there?
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to have seen this kind of a motion multiple times before in my career. I saw it the deepest when we built Clazar. And the funny story is like we were building a platform to help with marketplace and co-sell, and we were doing marketplaces and co-sell ourselves. So it was a kind of a fun journey where we used to see a bottleneck, and then we used to solve it via our product, and then use it and perfect it, and then go forward. So like co-selling and, the entire journey for us has been just fantastic. Like, I see that co-selling is the heart of the partnership with AWS in many ways, where everything starts at that core of it, where you want to make sure that you're sharing your pipeline with AWS. That's where it starts, like, uploading opportunities to ACE, doing co-sell, doing meetings with the AWS reps, really explaining them and helping them understand how you differentiate and how you can add value to their day-to-day, how you can help their customers that they're trying to, help on their side. So all of that entire motion is what we did while building Clazar, and that's the kind of product that you see also in what we built.
So you're saying that your team was using your own product to get listed on Marketplace, and then to get all of your pipeline that you wanted to share for co-sell with you were using your product.
Exactly. And then one thing that really worked with us, Rene, is we from day one, we implemented the co-sell process. So any qualified opportunity that we felt like was, we could share with AWS, like we implemented the automation from day one. And that helped a lot, because then we leaned in, and then AWS saw that, hey, we are doing all of these things on the AWS side, and things started rolling from that motion onwards.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between the parts that are automated and the parts that aren't?
Yeah.
Because I know, right, like the tool will help with the introductions and making sure that teams have the right things up to date in the data, but there's other parts to co-sell that make it work really well that I think your team has been doing.
Yeah. And co-sell is really a part science and part art. And you can automate the science behind it, but the art is something that, you have to do a few times, you have to talk to a few experts, and you have to kind of go through that motion to get right. What we've been able to do is we've been able to extend the science part as much as we can, and so that the art part becomes less of a factor. It is still there, and I think it'll, as long as, co-sell like this, I think it's going to be there. Technology can help. But eventually the human-to-human connection on your rep and the AWS rep, like that can't be replaced with technology. So what we do is on the tooling side, we have implemented a full automation from uploading opportunity to ACE, and then the sync back, including all the stages in between. And, you can go to a level where it's completely touchless, where, you upload, you're just doing selling on your Salesforce or HubSpot instance, and automatically the opportunities are kept in sync in the background. That's the science part. And then the non-science part of it is actually the human-to-human connection, which is the meetings, explaining them, what your value proposition is, how you're differentiated, how you can help them hit their goals, meeting, doing in-person events like happy hours, and going to the conferences and actually having that human connection. That's the art parts.
Yes, I find, so I'm glad you touched on that, because I think the relationships is so important to co-sell, right? And that's part of what you're talking about. And I think, concerns I hear from partners often is like just the time that it takes to do the partnership or co-sell, which they're valid concerns, right? To make sure that you have the right team and, systems in place for everybody to be successful. But I think the fact that teams can be within their own, environment with their CRM, right? And sellers do not have to then enter data twice in order to make sure that everybody's on the same page from the partnership perspective, which, by the way, is like what's needed if you don't have a tool like Clazar. That's where the example that you're sharing earlier about 20 minutes, right? Is, okay, you have your own system for data to keep everything up to date. And then there's the system for the partnership, which we call ACE. And you want to then have AWS or your sellers then have to keep two systems up to date. That is like not, in my opinion, the most ideal thing, but it's understandable, right? But so I think like having that be automated where teams don't have to enter data in two places is huge, because then you have more time to focus on the human side of it, which can't be automated, right? You can go, have that conversation and learn more about, what those key problems those customers are facing together.
100%.
Yeah. So what differentiates Clazar?
So there's a various amount of differentiators that we can talk about. First and foremost is we are extremely fast. We take pride in being the fastest in terms of getting you from sign to live. And there are various factors that goes into it. But the outcome for the customers is that they are able to get the listing or the integration of co-sell very, very fast. Second is the user experience. We wanted to build a platform that is a delight to use. And as I talked about, we worked at Airbnb before. That was one of their core mantras that we've been able to incorporate into Clazar as well. So the platform is extremely easy, fast, and has a slick UI that you can you want to use on a day-to-day basis. Next up is the fact that we have fantastic analytics on the platform, and these analytics flow really well from our platform all the way up until your Salesforce, and just depends on where you want them. And that way you have full visibility in terms of how your business is operating on a day-to-day basis without having those sleepless nights. And last but not the least is the way we price the product is clearly, I firmly believe is a differentiator because we do not take any rev share. And when we did the pricing, it was done in a very thoughtful manner where we actually wrote down and sat down and wrote down principles of pricing. And what you see that's publicly available on a pricing page is a output of that effort with the certain principles in mind, like transparency and predictability of pricing. So these are the differentiators that we have, I would say.
And when you say rev share for pricing, like you mean, if someone is going to sign up to pay for Clazar, they know based on a public page, right? Yeah. That what they can expect to pay now, or if they grow, but it's a consistent price based on what they see there, compared to, I think, some of the others in the space where as the customer's revenue grows, then the price they pay grows, right?
Exactly. And then we have various plans along the way, like you can map your own journey along those plans, and it's aligned with the growth journey that we anticipate a typical company to go through. So you can pick and choose at whatever stage you are at, and then just go align with that plan. Yes.
Yeah, the transparency has been helpful for me as a PDM because I can, as I recommend Clazar to my partners, I can say, look, like this is what you can plan, and we know that would be consistent. And then I can also just give you feedback that I remember the day that like you demoed for me, and I remember seeing some of the even screenshots and then like the live demo, and like within minutes I was just like, the UX stood out to me, and I'm a big nerd about user experience. So I think that makes a huge impact on that metric you were saying earlier of the 20 minutes to 20 seconds. Right. Teams are, and then multiply that by any opportunity that you're collaborating, in the partnership with. And that's a big number for making things seamless. But that, I think, attributes to that point you're making about the product, about user experience being baked into everything that you're doing.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So what about GSP? That's what we call the Global Startup Program for short. So what has the impact of the Global Startup Program been for you and the Clazar team?
Yeah, GSP, Global Startup Program, has been massive for us. Really, as a founder, you work with a lot of founders, and, as a part of as your job as well. But for founders, there's always 500 things on a daily basis that you have to figure out, and you have to pick and choose the ones that matter the most and has the highest ROI and all of that, right? I do not know what we would have done if we were not a part of GSP. It just feels like the day that we have been a part of GSP program, we've had someone who's had our back, right from having a PDR, then graduating to a PDM. Both of them were fantastic, but then the clearly laid out process and access to programs that we've had, the support that we've had, has really catapulted our growth. I actually attribute a lot of our growth to the fact that we are a deep partner with AWS and specifically to GSP as well. It's just been, if for any founders who are considering, partnership, I think GSP program is one of the top things I would recommend for sure.
That's awesome. Appreciate the feedback. And I know that, AWS isn't the only group that you're partnering with. So how does that compare, from a partnership perspective?
Yeah, all the partners that are in the space have differences in terms of how they onboard their partners. For us, having someone like a GSP program was a game changer, as I talked about, with all of the accesses and programs and people, of course. Also being able to get exclusive access to some of the AWS events and teams and all of that. I wish something similar exists everywhere. That way, every single partner gets a consistent experience and opportunity to grow with the partner. It doesn't exist now, but hopefully in the future it might.
It's good feedback. Well, I've really appreciated the opportunity to get to chat with you today, Trunal. Any last things that you want to share before we wrap?
No, it's been fun chatting with you, and we've known each other for a while now, so it was good catching up in person and just talking about our favorite topic. If there's anyone out there who's looking to learn more, feel free to reach out to me or LinkedIn, or just schedule a demo via our website Clazar.io, and then we would be more than happy to help you on your journey.
Yeah, so check them out if you're looking to get a new marketplace listing up, or looking for an integration so that your team can do co-sell better or faster. Clazar is a great team to go to have a chat with. So thanks again, Trunal.
Thank you so much.